Hello and welcome to our expert channel. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing an expert in technology leadership. So have you ever wondered what it truly takes to lead a company through a scale-up? So our expert today is known as the Technology Leadership Insider, as he has founded, scaled and sold no less than 3 software companies while he lived in California. So he's here to share the results of a leadership study that his team recently undertook. So when he's not sneaking in video game time on his PS4 or complaining about the last season of Game of Thrones, he's contributing to entrepreneur.com, writing best-selling books, and mentoring leaders at organizations like Uber, Microsoft, and Salesforce. So welcome, Michael.
Hi, Ian. Hey, thanks so much for having me here.
Excellent. I'm glad you could join us. So I heard you did this in-depth study even on leadership recently. How did that come about?
Yeah, it's one of the things. There's so many leadership authors, speakers, everybody else out there, leadership trainers, etc. And everybody has their own methods, and they talk about leadership, and there's people that talk about sports leadership, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we wanted to find out what truly moved the needle with leaders. So let's get rid of all the stuff. Let's go right to the leaders and ask them where their biggest challenges were. So at the end of 2019, the end of last year, my team and we took 190 leaders from around the world, and we spent over 250 hours. We sent them surveys, and then we went through interviews, structured interviews, where we could really get in their minds, in their heads, to really find out where leaders are at, what their challenges are, and how to get them to the next level. And
what was the results then?
Well, there was, some of the results I'm sure people would, they want better team performance, they want to reach their goals, etc. But there's 3 things that stick out to me that are very unique. The first thing is when it came to why do you want to be a leader? Why do you want to be a more effective leader? Nobody, in all of our interviews, nobody said money or power or anything like that first. I mean, everybody's interested, yes, in making money and climbing up the corporate ladder, but they wanted to make an impact. And it seems what people would do is they would earn a leadership position. So, they would get promoted to start their own company or whatever, because they were good at, maybe programming, maybe marketing, whatever it was in their role. And they were good in their role because they really liked helping people and providing value. And then they're in this leadership position, and they wanted to move further in leadership to make a bigger impact. So I think that's important to realize that, money is, I like to make money, let's face it, and money is okay. It's not the worst thing. It's a good scoreboard. But it's not really what truly drives people. It's really making an impact. And it was great to see that was, and it was great that we did these interviews so people had a safe space to really explore this. But I think people are all really driven about doing a better job. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It makes sense. So in what did you sort of learn that affected how you then deliver and what you deliver as a leadership trainer?
Well, let me get to that's great. Let me get to the next 2 things, and then I'll answer that.
Okay.
Because it's a great question. Let me get to the thing. The second thing was how much family and the home life was impacted by when people are struggling at leadership. Because when they're struggling at leadership, when somebody's struggling as a leader, they often have to keep up this face that's like they have it all covered, and it takes so much energy to do that. And then there's nobody often for them to talk to. That's, I know, like people like you and I are coaches, because so people like this can have somebody to really talk to, in a safe place to help them get to the next level. But when people are struggling in these leadership positions, like really like, am I going to get demoted? Is my company going to fail? They take that home with them. And when they take that home with them, that puts pressure on their partner, because their partner is often picking up the house duties, picking up the kid duties, etc. And a lot of people take work home, which means, they'll spend some family time, but then they'll do a couple more hours of work, etc. They'll stay late at the office. And even when they are at spending time with their family, they're not fully present because there's so much of this stress, so much of this responsibility, and they aren't connecting with their kids or their spouse. And then their kids and their spouse will start to give them hints. They often don't talk about it directly until it's too late. So, and then people that are also struggling start to maybe get into play too many video games, get into too much Netflix, start drinking or eating or even doing drugs as a bypass to really help mitigate a lot of this stress. That's something that didn't come out on the surveys, but really came out on the interviews. So a lot of people are lying to themselves about this. And then the third thing is that the biggest thing is when we did some of the statistical analysis, the number one challenge that leaders have is confidence. So it wasn't, managing a team or running a team. It wasn't performance around those things. It's confidence. And we talk about imposter syndrome, and we talk about, the fact that they're in these new positions. And so it was really, it's one of these things we sort of knew, but when you see the data giving leaders, because a lot of them would say, hey, oftentimes I know what to do, but I'm procrastinating, or, I don't feel like I'm worthy to have these big group meetings or these big all company meetings and to stand in front and to present my vision or whatever it is. And so they hold themselves back, and that causes more stress. So that sends them deeper down this spiral.
Yeah, and I can imagine, of course, that's what they then take back to the family as well.
You're right. And it's a mirror, right? So, when they lose that confidence at their work, they're sort of losing that confidence in their family. And so they're not the mother or the father or the husband or the wife or the partner that their spouse is looking for, and they start to doubt themselves, and then it really causes problems everywhere in their life.
Yeah. Interesting, very interesting. So that sort of leads me to the question I asked before then, how has that affected these results and that analysis on your leadership training and how you then deal with leaders you work with?
Yeah, I guess I'm unique in the fact that, I had the real life skills. I started as a programmer, worked my way up the corporate ladder, started a couple of companies, had some success. I also have a master's in psychology. And so what we did is, what me and my team and I did, is we really took what we learned there and we applied psychology, emotional intelligence, and neuroscience to what we teach. And we also make sure that everything we teach is in a very practical standpoint. And so we really focused even more on, we find that oftentimes people have a lot of the tools, the nuts and bolts of how to be a leader, how to maybe the proper way to run a meeting, how to do, employee reviews. We focus so much more now on mindset and what I call relationship with the self, because I find as leaders, we need such strong resilience because we have to take risks. When the risks don't go, okay, we got to take that on our back. We have to take basically ownership and responsibility for that. So much what I teach is about getting people getting comfortable with themselves, so that when they show up as a leader, their personality comes through, because people want to be led. So it's up to us as leaders to really show up and give people direction, give people vision, give people a purpose. And that's really difficult to do unless you're really confident in yourself, because the purpose really has to come from within you, because otherwise it's not authentic. People talk about authenticity and vulnerability, but authenticity and vulnerability are a byproduct of being confident. And so that's why, and so I really teach people how to have this confidence and self-esteem, so that they can stand in front of everybody. Because when you stand in front of everybody, your whole company, your whole team, some of them may be older than you, some of them may be honestly smarter than you or better at whatever the thing is. But at the end of the day, you're the leader, and people want that direction, and people want you to show up with your authentic self, and that's who they follow. And I'm sure you run into the same thing here, Jan.
Well, the question that actually came to mind as you're talking about this, and to what extent it involves the team as well. So a leader with his direct team, to what extent do you involve the whole team in that? Because I would sort of imagine that vulnerability with the nearest team and all of them having that as part of the conversation must be really helpful.
Yeah, it really, when I normally go in there and work, I start with it comes in all different shapes and sizes. The interesting thing is, I was teaching this in Dubai. I was teaching this to leaders throughout the whole Middle East, which was just a great learning experience. As it was. We had people from Syria there, Saudi Arabia, and it was really just all these different cultures, which was great. And it was a 3-day course. In the first day and a half, and again, I was dealing just with the leaders, not with their teams. So individual leaders would come in from around the region. And for the first day and a half of the 3-day course, the one guy raised his hand and he said, "Hey, all we're doing is talking about working with ourselves. We're not even talking about working with other people yet." I said, "I know. That's because until you are really in tune with yourself, it doesn't even really matter what you do with other people, because we really have to create that inner strength and that inner resilience to bring out that inner leader. Because once you do that, then then everything else in a way falls into place." Then I did teach them other skills, but to me, I really work on the leader and the relationship with themselves. And it's so fun to work with a whole team, because when you can get the leader that's really coming up and really being vulnerable, but vulnerable in a strong way, right? People talk about vulnerability. Vulnerability as a leader doesn't mean you throw your problems up all over everybody. It's like, we got this problem, we got this problem. It's like, we got this problem, and here's what we're going to do about it. It's important that you show up and to be really honest, but also that you show them a path out, because people, and you may not even know specifics. It may be a movement or whatever, but people are looking to you for that. And so that's really what we need to do to show up.
Yeah. So if you could sort of summarize, and I know this is a tough question, in sort of a 2 or 3 top tip that you suggest the viewers take away.
Okay, first of all is give yourself a break. If you're a leader, you've probably done so many amazing things, but you get down on yourself for all the little things. You're probably a perfectionist. You probably drive yourself. It's okay to be driven by that, but you know what? When you make a mistake, take it as part of the course. You're there to make mistakes. You're the lead. You have to take risks as a leader. So when you fail, be like, all right, I did a lot of good things well, and I just failed in these 1 or 2 things. You know what? That's all right, because that's what I do. Second thing is around, I had the second thing, I just lost it, but it was people want to be led. They want you to come in and take control of the meeting. I see so many business owners, and they own the business, and they'll come in and their executive team there, and their executive teams, it's like supposed to start at 10. It's like 2 minutes after 10, and they're like, "All right, everybody, when you're ready, please take your seats." It's like, no, at 10 o'clock, be like, "All right, sit your butt down, and we're starting this meeting." You're in control of that, so take the lead. They're waiting for you to do that, and if you don't do that, they're not going to give it to you. That's something, you have to have this proper assertiveness. There's some times as a leader where you got to get the troops and get them going on the third thing. And then the third thing, man, I had 2 good ones. I need a good.
Yeah, those are really good ones. Can you top those?
Well, let me just go back to the leadership study results, and I'll pick one out of those. We talk about being strategic, because that's the top 5 things were confidence, team performance, being more strategic, influence, respect, and delegation.
No.
Being strategic was a big thing. And I don't mean about having a strategic plan, because honestly, to have a strategy, you can have somebody like me or Yan come in and go through and help you come up with a strategic plan. It's being strategic. It's putting time in your calendar to really think about how you're being strategic. It's understanding your priorities, because most leaders, they have to spend part of their time being strategic and part of their time being tactical and fighting fires. So it's really important for you to be able to flip that switch and all of a sudden have that important conversation and really make sure that you're looking at the long term. You're looking at the strategy of your team and your company, and really switch that. And so there's tools and ways to do that. How to delegate. Delegating is really important. So many people do it wrong. So it's really important for you to do all that to be a really great, effective leader.
Excellent. Excellent. That's great. Thank you, Michael, for sharing your insights with us today and what you learned from the study. If the viewers are interested in learning more, where can they go?
All right. Well, my name is Michael Anderson, but there's too many Michael Andersons, so I put my first initial at the beginning of my name. So it's rmichaelanderson.com. That's R for Robert, rmichaelanderson.com. And you can go there. There's the leadership studies on my blog. There's some other leaders that have went through some things, have some case studies on there. And you're always welcome. I love talking about this stuff. So everybody's always welcome to use the contact form and drop me a note there.
Excellent. Thanks, Michael. What I'll do as well is I'll make sure that for all the viewers that the link is actually underneath the video. And if the viewers have any questions or comments, please post those as well. I'll forward them to Michael and he can answer them, I'm sure. And please remember to click like if you enjoyed the video. And remember to click also on subscribe so you don't miss any future videos with experts. Thank you very much.